Today I want to share with you the 3 projects that we completed in the first month of the van build and give you a sense of the challenges we faced, what we learned, how we would do things differently, and also how much it costs. So let's jump in. If you're new here, my name's Michelle. Blaze is right over here. She's zonked out. We went for a 5-mile hike earlier today and we're a little tired. Here's a look at the van interior on my test drive before I signed the paperwork. Then once I brought it home, I cleaned the inside with soapy water and started to address some minor rust issues. We followed the far out ride floor installation and ordered some mini cell. While we waited for that to be delivered, we bought 3 XPS boards, cut them to shape, and then cut the mini cell to fit in the floor grooves before gluing everything down. We ran 2 2x2s the length of the van and then cut the sheathing, plywood, glued the plywood down, weighed it down with all of my worldly possessions before realizing that we should have used better grade plywood because the seams were not lining up. My dad did a great job using his ingenuity to find a solution which involved liquid nails, washers, and some flat brackets. He drilled holes in the plywood, put the liquid nails down, secured the seams with the brackets and the washers, and let it dry overnight. While I waited for the liquid nails to dry, I applied some kill mat to the walls to help with sound deadening and some minor insulation. Next up is installing the MaxxAir Exhaust Fan. I let my dad do the cutting because he makes it look so easy. He drilled 4 holes in the corners and then used a jigsaw to cut out the square. We put plastic underneath to catch as much of the metal shavings as we possibly could before vacuuming and cleaning everything off with alcohol before we started actually doing the installation. I purchased a fan adapter from DIY Vans, which helped reinforce the surface where it was mounted so that we didn't experience any caving or flexing in the van roof. We used butyl tape and screwed everything down, and then Dad applied Dicor around all of the seams and over the screws to ensure there were no leaks. Made some progress this week. We have a subfloor, we have a roof fan, and I'm currently sizing up the bunk window in the back over the bed. Before we did anything else, I took some time to build out a Pinterest board with inspirational images, blog post, information, anything that I found helpful or aesthetically pleasing that would serve as a starting point for how I wanted the van to eventually look like. And that helped me decide on the color choices of the cabinets, the walls, the honey-colored finishings, as well as the LVT floor we were getting ready to install. Next up, I sourced what kind of LVT I wanted to install. I ended up purchasing some from the Home Depot. We put down a barrier between the subfloor and the LVT, and then just cut and clicked everything together. It was pretty easy. And lastly, you see our first prototype for a bed that would slide out from a full to a queen. What would I have done differently? To start, I would have created a grid out of 2x2s and then cut the XPS foam to fit within each of the rectangles to alleviate any sponginess in the floor. Secondly, I would have used a higher grade plywood, a birch, a maple, something other than sheathing to alleviate the unlevelness we experienced and had to correct with each of the seams. So how much did I spend in the first month of our van build process? I spent a total of $1,259. That included rust prevention, the subfloor and floor, as well as the MaxxAir Exhaust Fan installation. So yeah, that's where we are, month 1. If you made it this far, thank you so much for staying around. I hope you found that helpful. I hope you learned something. And stay tuned because I'll have month 2 coming out hopefully next Sunday. Yeah, I'll see you then.